2019 hosted some of the greatest films in the modern era, many of them being recognized during the 2020 Academy Awards. The year was so stacked with genre-defining and all-time classics that some went through the cracks and started off a little underrated and later became noticed as the masterpieces they are. Uncut Gems, directed by the Safdie brothers, is a perfect example of one of those films. A uniquely stylized New York film following a degenerate gambler introduced many people to certain sensibilities not frequently seen, which led to a mixed reaction at first. Uncut Gems, with its character who is deeply unsympathetic, but as an audience you are compelled to root for due to the Safdie's tone and positions they put this viewer, is a perfect example of the oscillation between sympathy and disgust seen in metamodern films. I want to discuss today what makes Uncut Gems the timeless classic it has quickly become and is one of the finest examples of capitalist realism while being a true metamodern masterpiece. It is impossible to talk about Uncut Gems without talking about the pace, direction, and style that is synonymous with this movie. This style was really developed in the Safdie brothers' last film, Good Time, and pushed even further with Uncut Gems. The way in which the film has the audience follow Howard Ratner, played by Adam Sandler, make poor decision after poor decision leads to a stressful experience. The film has this character from the get-go in a hole due to his gambling debts and tries to keep gambling to get himself out. Full spoilers ahead, but the film's final moments illustrate a character that was never in this to just clear his debts. He gambles because he fucking loves it. This is particularly apparent when he's talking to Kevin Garnett, where he says, "This is my fucking way. This is how I win." The value he has because of his assets, owning a jewelry store in the Diamond District and never accepting his problem, caused this character to truly spiral even when he doesn't know this. All of this, of course, leads to maybe the most relieving gunshot in the history of film. Howard is consistently going down a rabbit hole of gambling and scoring that high off winning. He is always pressed and has a threat of death throughout the whole film from people he needs to pay back urgently. They beat him, strip him, and aren't afraid to intimidate him when his family's around, which also is leading to the demise of his family and his marriage. The gunshot that kills Howard at the end of the film is so relieving because as an audience member, the Safdies don't let you go from the very start. You are so stressed. I for one feel my heart rate go up while watching this movie and always need an hour or so before it settles down again because it is so stressful. This both due to the situation the character has been placed in, as well as the frenetic, non-stop energy that the Safdies provide here. The use of the cinematographer, the sound, and the editing create a claustrophobic atmosphere that has you begging Howard to get himself out of this situation. The gunshot puts a full stop on the stress because we know as an audience there is nothing further that can happen beyond that. It is so effective and is masterful storytelling. The central character of Howard Ratner, played by Sandler, is so fascinating and is one of the best characters I have seen on the big screen this century. The role in a dramatic sense is Sandler's most challenging work and still to this day is his magnum opus. The role is intense and required some interesting homework for Sandler. He had to shadow real jewelers from the 47th Street in the Diamond District to understand how they operate.
So all these guys on the block let me in their shops, and I got to sit with them and watch them, and they taught me about the jewelry and about selling, and I watched them all day long, and it was a lot of fun.
He also learned the experience from real gamblers and how they throw away their lives, something obviously close to Howard Ratner. The film changed the complexion of Sandler's career. I feel like there is a before Uncut Gems and after for him because he is now working with dramas a lot more frequently than he used to, while the comedies have begun to take a back seat. The change is what was needed to revitalize Sandler's career, as him and his movies were being more and more harshly criticized. The character is inspired by a real-life figure in the Safdie brothers' life, and Sandler plays him to perfection. He's ruining his life with so much ignorance it can be frustrating to watch, and Sandler is always speaking a mile a minute to either defuse a situation or buy himself more time. The character is not interested in becoming a better person. He is consumed in a capitalistic world where he believes that one big parlay can change everything for him. However, when he does do enough to clear his debts, he gets the gem back. What does he do? He throws on yet another parlay because he is chasing that high of winning.
Let's fucking bet on this. Let's bet on this shit.
Even small details like the costume design say so much about this character. Wearing jewelry that isn't his. There's even a shot where Howard is on the phone and you see he's wearing a shirt with tags because his financial situation is that volatile. I'm sure many of us have gambled, and in my experience that feeling of winning is such a huge adrenaline rush, and I understand that mentality to an extent, where you win and you want to go again because you envision winning even more. You aren't fully satisfied by that one win, which is how gambling can absolutely ruin someone financially if you are not careful. This brings me to the key point I wanted to make when discussing this film. Alongside just being able to do a well-researched video on one of my all-time favorite movies, is discuss why this is a meta-modern masterpiece. Howard Ratner and the film has idealistic values. Howard sees himself completely fixing all of his problems through gambling. This is all heavily contrasted with the harsh reality of the gambling rabbit hole he has put himself in. He has debt collectors after him who are getting increasingly more violent as the film progresses. They even stop a bet Howard makes earlier in the film because his reputation is completely ruined, that it didn't matter that this parlay hit. His family practically despises him and he can barely hold onto the affair he is having with Julia Fox. He is so ignorant of all of this because he believes that manipulating Kevin Garnett, Celtics legend by the way, hitting the right numbers on his parlay is going to give him the glory he seeks. He doesn't always want to just get what he needs, he wants to get ahead. The auction scene for the gem, which KG has really wanted, reaches the $100,000 total, which is enough for Howard to cover his debts with the collectors. He gets a relative to jack up the bids further, which only backfires as KG backs out of the bid. Once again, he seeks that high of getting more money than he needs, and because of that, he gets stuck with nothing. This scene is where the contrarian values of a meta-modern film are clearly shown. When I watch this film, I want KG to buy the stone and the plan to succeed, and it feels awful when it backfires because the Safdies masterfully manipulate the audience towards empathy for a suffering character, even if he dug himself into this with his shady dealings, pawning items that don't belong to him, trying to gamble his way out of debt, cheating on his wife. All these things make him such a degenerate of a human, and despite all that, the film still makes you have sympathy for him because Sandler plays him so freaking well. The character still has many human characteristics. He's not a completely evil person. He is a bad person, sure, who deserves the situation he's in, but seeing him die does feel somewhat tragic. The character's motivations, while not sound, are completely understandable, and I believe the way in which Uncut Gems depicts the need to be money motivated in an increasingly capitalistic world, which creates a scarily relevant dialogue that makes this film all the more thematically rich. The world has been degrading since the pandemic. Expenses that were a lot easier to manage, like basic necessities, are now challenging to pay for. While on the other side of things, the wealthy are seeing more money than ever. It's frustrating and has caused so much anger, and rightfully so. Uncut Gems pushes things to the extreme, where someone would look at gambling as a solution because if you do win big, it could solve your problems. This film perfectly expresses capitalist realism because him getting shot after he wins big, wins $1 million, which is far more than he needs to pay off his debts and is planning to pay off his debts, gets shot by the debt collectors who go on their own path, steal a bunch of jewelry from the shop, and I think they would have tried to have stolen the winnings from this big parlay that hit. They even shoot the person they're working for because they are consumed in their own journey within capitalism, where they're stuck and just want to get a piece of the pie and as much money as they can. Uncut Gems pushes things to the extreme where someone would look at gambling as a solution because if you do win big, it could solve all your problems. The issue with gambling, however, is that in the real world, you will most likely come out losing and being in a worse position, which is the trajectory that Howard finds himself in throughout this movie. It's tragic, and as an audience that wants him to succeed and wants the stress to end, you begin to realize that it might be too little too late. Getting too close to the sun and being too idealistic in an increasingly nihilistic world can lead to tragedy. The way in which the Safdies explore the sickness of gambling addiction is masterful, and that frenetic style and energy that is generated through the many stylistic choices, sharp dialogue, and all-time great performance from Adam Sandler all illustrate to me why Uncut Gems is a true meta-modern masterpiece and a genre-defining classic that will be studied for decades. The Safdies are some of the most exciting new voices in cinema, and Uncut Gems is the key barometer as to why. Uncut Gems at times feels like a mirror to the world and the rabbit hole someone can go down when caught in this vice, and that is all due to the film showcasing capitalism on max volume.